Today I'm going to be taking a look at the Eachine CineFun. Now there are so many of these tiny whoop style quadcopters out there, it's difficult to know what the difference is between any of them. In fact, most of the time there isn't a lot of difference at all, but this one has got a very interesting spec sheet. So it's a 75mm tiny whoop, so just a little bit bigger than the original 65mm tiny whoop. And you might be thinking, well, there's lots of 75mm tiny whoops out there, and you'd be right, but this one is running off 1S, which is quite rare, but it's also carrying a Cadex Loris 4K split camera. And not only that, you can also get it with a TBS Crossfire Nano receiver. Now, if you had told me maybe 2 years ago that you could get a 1S tiny whoop that was doing all of that stuff, I'd say it was impossible because there was just too much to power up, and I'd especially say that it would not be coming from Eachine, but this is what we are looking at today, so that's pretty impressive. Now, Eachine doesn't have the best track record when it comes to their products and the quality, so we'll have to see what this one is like. This is the box that it comes in, and it's just got a bit of tape on it there. It does have all of the specs on here, so it says that it's a 75mm, and it's got the Crazy Bee V2.2 flight controller. It's got the ESCs built in, and it's BL Halley S 5 amp. And the VTX is switchable from 25mW all the way up to 200mW, which is also amazing again for 1S. The motors are an 1102 19,000 kV, so quite a high kV for this one. The props are the HQ prop 1.6 by 1.6 times 4. I'm not a big fan of that prop. It's a bit of a weak prop, so I'll have to see what it's like with that. And it says the weight here, 39 grams without a battery, so that's pretty impressive for 75mm and all of that stuff that it's got. And you can see here that it says the camera option 4K, and there's also a 1080p option, which I think is the Runcam Split 3 if you just want 1080p, and I think that one is 37 grams without a battery, so 2 grams difference just going from 4K to 1080p. I think that Loris as well, I think it does 4K 30 and the specs say 4K 60, but I believe it's 3.5K 60, but it also does 2.7K 60 and 1080p. I'll have to check that out. So you can also get it with an FR Sky receiver and Fly Sky. I believe those ones are the built-in SPI receivers though, so you don't get good range with that one, so the VTX will outrun the range with those two. So really the Crossfire one is a good one to get if you have the Crossfire module. Okay, let's see what you get inside the box. This is the first time that I'm opening this. So we have got a controller here for the Cadex camera. And then we have got a bag here, so it looks like a spare set of these HQ props. They are such a brittle prop. They even break when you take them off. We've got a prop remover in there. I can't see that being much use. Let's just see what we've got in here. So we've got a screwdriver, spare set of props. We have got an XT30 to PH2, I guess that's for charging. We've got some screws, and we also got some foam as well. I imagine that is for jamming the battery in. I tell you what, you can say whatever you like about the quality of Eachine products, but they do give you a lot in the package. Alright, if the product's no good, then having a lot in the package is no good. But if it's a great product, we have got 4 650mAh 1S batteries here with an XT30 connector already on there, so that's going to be a lot better than the PH2 connectors on the older type of tiny whoop, so we should have less voltage sag and it's not going to kill our batteries as quick. So yeah, great batteries in there if they last. We have got a charger for 1S, that's where the PH2 connector goes in, then USB here. We have got a switch for a high volt, but it doesn't tell you which one is a high volt, so you'd have to do a test and see which one brings the on-screen display to 4.35 volts. You get given a manual in the box, but like most of these Eachine Bind & Fly products, the manual, it can sort of get you there, but you really need to know how to program Betaflight to get it going. So if I just take a look at the quadcopter on its own, looks like we've got a Mobula 7 style frame, so quite bendy. I was never a fan of this upgraded frame with these struts here because, you know, they disrupt the airflow, but with this just being like a 1S quadcopter and with a 4K camera, you really are only going to be flying it indoors or outside on a really calm day, and I'd be very surprised if we can do some serious acro with it. And even if we can, I wouldn't be surprised if we got some serious yaw washout with this frame, because that was the case with the Mobula 7. But I tell you what, it looks pretty neat. The only thing I'm not liking is this random TBS antenna just sticking up here. I know it's difficult to sort of mount it, but Eachine were always terrible at mounting options for the receiver's antenna, and that is just going to go straight in the props there. So I can see the TBS Nano RX here. That's nice and accessible. And then we have got a capacitor on the XT30 connector and just about reach the USB port underneath. One thing I am noticing is these HQ props. They are slightly above the prop protectors, although it does look like, yeah, nah, I don't like these props. I think the Gemfan props are going to be better, and I think they would sit nicer on these motors, because look at that there. Can you see the hub there of the motor? We have got a lot of the hub showing, or the shaft if you like. So potential for vibrations there, and it'd be nicer if the prop sat flush against the motor, but you know, the motor's Eachine branded. I mean, they're not going to be amazing, but we'll have to see if they rattle or anything like that. Looks like everything is on little JST connectors for the motors, so if you have like a problem, then you could switch it out. And the board for the Loris camera is nicely mounted there and accessible as well. Quite like that. And we have got a screw on every corner, so that feels pretty sturdy, you know, that does. Of course, the thing that I'm always looking at when it comes to these type of quadcopters is Jallo through there, because that's going to ruin the experience if we get Jallo, and you know, with these tiny quadcopters it's quite difficult not to. So yeah, that's going to be the main test with this one. Of course, we aren't going to be getting like the usual stabilized cinematic footage, but it's still going to be pretty amazing for 1S. I don't think the price is too bad either. I think it's about 150 GBP, something like that, and as I say, you get a lot for your money. Okay, let's see how much this guy weighs. So that's 40.7 grams, and they said 39, so that's probably right, because we've got the TBS Nano RX on here, so if you were using the built-in receiver, then that would probably be 39 grams. Let's see if I can add a battery on there, and that's 56 grams with the 1S battery. Now, I've never flown this configuration before with this camera on there, so it's going to be new territory when it comes to, you know, the power to weight and things like that, so I'll have to see what it's like. Alrighty, let's take a look at the Betaflight setup. Eachine not really known for having great settings out of the box. Whoa, look at that version number, 3.57, so we're on version 4.2, coming up 4.3 soon, but I'll let you into a little secret here. I really like version 3.5. It's the last version that worked on very powerful 3-inch micros and is good for micros in general. But yeah, that is an old version of Betaflight they've put on there. I guess just because it's easy to tune stuff on 3.57. Alright, let's check out the ports. So we've got the TBS Smart Audio to change the VTX settings on the UART 2. UART 1 is going to be for the TBS Nano, so no spare UARTs there. Of course, there will be a spare UART if you are using the onboard receiver version. So let's go into configuration. Oh, interesting, we've got props out, or props reversed, D-Shot 600, and motor stop is turned off. Now that is unusual for Eachine. And we've got a decent motor idle speed as well, 5.5. We don't have any RPM filtering, and we haven't got any correction on the board. Oh, look at this though, arming 180. They usually leave that to the default, which I think is 25. Is this going to be the first Ishin product that I don't have to change anything on the config tab? So we've got 8K, 8K, accelerometer, CineFun on the craft name. Let's scroll down here, so CRSF for the Crossfire version. Let's have a see, dynamic filter, OSD, air mode. Oh, and we've got RX lost, RX set. Look at that, yes. I wouldn't change anything there, I don't think. Yeah. Well, that's confused me. Okay, power and battery. Oh, look at that. They've even changed the maximum cell voltage to 4.5 so that we can use a high volt 2.9 and 3. Wow. Wow, I am impressed for Ishin. Okay. Nothing to save there. PID tuning. So, yeah, look, we've got some really high PIDs, but remember, this is the old version of Betaflight. Let's see what else we have got. So, I think that's just stock there, yeah, and let's check out the rates. So it looks like all of those are just the stock ones there, so I'm gonna put in my own rates, which should be 0.16, 0.16, 0.16, and then 7.5 for these. It might be a little bit different on this one actually. Yeah, so, yeah, I mean, you could use their rates. They'll be fine, just, you know, a little bit docile. Receiver, TAUR1234, that is fine. RSSI channel disabled, so I guess I will have to change that to one of the aux channels with Crossfire. There's even some deadband in there. I'm going to put that up to 5 for the Radio Master. Not a lot to change in there. Okay. Modes. Wow, okay, that's how I have it on the aux one, and then angle mode down here. Someone from Ishin has been copying my settings. Actually, I wouldn't have flip over after crash on that. I know it's a tiny whoop, but you always risk burning your ESCs doing that. Just go and pick it up, unless you are racing and, you know, your win of the race depends on it. But I'm going to get rid of that, and really we want a beeper. So they have got the beeper set up in D-Shock commands, but not on here, and I usually have that on the aux 3, but might have to move that around actually. I can't remember which aux channel you can set the link quality to for Crossfire, but anyways, that's not a problem. I'm just really checking out how much I need to change here. So let's look at the on-screen display. So we have got the VTX channel. I would just turn off warnings up there and whether it is disarmed. So that's there. But yeah, not bad actually. We have got the voltage, throttle position, we've got the flight time. Yeah, that's pretty good. We do have the RSSI here. I would move that over one, maybe. So RSSI set up here, but with that being disabled on there. Ah, that's probably because when you're using the SPI receiver, you have to disable the aux channel for it to feed directly through to here. So that's the only thing you need to change on the Crossfire version. But yeah, I tell you what, I'm pretty impressed with that from Ishin. The only thing that's not impressive is that it's 3.57. But, you know, if it flies well, then I'm not going to complain about that. Okay, so let's take a look at the camera options through the goggles. I've got the CADX controller plugged into the back of the JST connector, and we're all plugged in. I can see that it is on band A for the VTX, and that we're also in a 16:9 aspect ratio. The on-screen display is looking pretty good, so I'm going to first of all stop the recording. So can you see at the top right it says 1 minute 24. So it's on an automatic recording, and if you don't stop that, then you can't go into the menu. I'm using a 64GB card here, I think. It's a SanDisk Extreme Pro. So I'm just going to try and press the record button, which is on the back, to stop the recording. A little bit tricky to access it, actually. I think that did it. So that should stop the recording. Yeah, there we go. So now I'm going to press the button on the control board. So we've got the on-screen display setting, so we shouldn't need any of that really. Yeah, so that is all turned off, which is fine. Just need to go through all of the alphabet to get down to the bottom. So we don't need any of that because we've got an on-screen display built into the flight controller. So I'm going to exit out of there. Then in video, it's set to 2.7K 60, and I think that's what I'd have it set to really, but let's check out the other options. So we've got 4K 30 and 4K 60. I hear that 4K 60 is 3.5K and not 4K. Then we've got 1080p 60 and 1080p 90. Did actually change the colour slightly there. I don't know if that's going to show through on the DVR of the goggles. And back to 2K, 2.7K 60. So we don't seem to have any 4:3 resolutions, but that is fine. So we've got loop video off and auto recording on. That means when you power up, then it's just going to auto record, quite like that. So I'm going to keep that the same. Save and exit camera settings. So we've got exposure there, metering mode, our field of view. So we've got on high. I don't know why you'd want anything other than high, but there you go. You can change that there. Can flip the screen as well, but no need to. Light frequency 50 Hz, that is correct for where I am. I'm guessing that that is just going to be for the live FPV view though, and not the HD recording, because that's going to be in 60 FPS, and we don't have any 50 FPS options for here in the UK, so I'll have to see if we get any flicker through the HD recording, but not getting any flicker here. Actually, I wonder if I change that to 60. There we go. Yeah, I'm seeing some flicker there because of the light frequency, but if I go back down and switch that, yeah, the flicker goes off. So we can save and exit there. Image effect, so this is just their settings, everything's set to 5. I'm just going to leave it as it is so we get an indication of what it's like out of the box. And then we've got the TV system NTSC. So that's actually incorrect for 50 Hz. So that's interesting. It should really be PAL for 50 Hz. And again, I think that's going to be the FPV feed. So that might cause an interesting issue potentially with the rapid fire module that I'm using, because we are outputting at 50 Hz and NTSC should be 60 Hz. So yeah, but you can see the on-screen display will disappear when I select PAL because it's set up as that. So that's interesting, something to look out for. System settings, so we've got the language, SD card info, formatting, etc. I didn't need to do any of that actually, so my card just worked, which was nice. Then the aspect ratio, 16:9 and 4:3. I imagine that we're going to, yeah, so we lose field of view when we go into 4:3 mode. So bear that in mind if you're using goggles that are stuck in a 4:3 mode. Tend to find that it's pretty difficult flying a 16:9 aspect ratio with 4:3 only goggles. Luckily the Fatshark HDO2s, which I'm using here, can switch between the two, so I'll be using their full 16:9. And that is all of the camera settings. Okay, I've turned on my transmitter and you can see that the link quality is shot up there to 99%. I've got that outputting on the auxiliary 4. So if I put my throttle in the middle, pitch fully forward and then yaw to the left, I can go into features and we can see what the VTX is set up for. So it should be smart audio, and you see the Bosscam A2. I'm going to change that to race band, and I like to have race band 1, and it's set to 200 milliwatts out of the box, so it's actually sat here now at full power. It's not always a good thing, so might be worth setting that to 25 milliwatts, at least when you are changing the settings, otherwise it might start to cook itself pretty quickly. So if I press set now, this is going to reset through my goggles, and then it should be ready to fly. Just noticing as well, I've dipped the camera down flat because I'm indoors here and we are getting some of the protectors in shot, but I think I would need that in order to fly indoors because it's quite an aggressive angle otherwise for flying slowly. So I'm going to set this now and then we can get some flying done. Alright, so let's go for a line of sight flight with this guy. I've just noticed that it's saying race band 1 and power 1, but it's set to 200, so I wonder if they have set it so that when you arm, it goes up to 200 milliwatts. If that is the case, then you can ignore the fact that I said you would need to change it to 25, because it looks like they are using pit mode. There you go, look, it switches to 2. So I'm in angle mode here. Whoa! And I'm getting quite a bit of drift, but there you go, it's settled out. I think it is the included latency that sort of caused me to not be able to react with that very well. Yeah, and even with the camera angle sort of as flat as it will go, it's still looking up a little bit, which is a bit disorientating, but that's as flat as it will go. Okay, I've settled out now. Oh, the view isn't very good, is it, from these cameras? Maybe I'm too spoilt with the digital footage, but the FPV feed, yeah, we've got a little bit of noise there. Not a crazy amount, but it's there, and the image is a little bit washy, isn't it? Anyways, let's fly around, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to flick between the FPV view and the 2.7K 60 HD footage so you can see the difference, and see if we get any flickering on the HD footage or not. I'm not getting any flickering through to the DVR. And also if the DVR is in black and white, that's because of the NTSC mismatch with the light frequency. Hopefully that's not going to be a problem, but if it's in black and white, that's why. Something to look out for. Now, I did notice when putting this together to get ready to fly, that it actually does have a little hook on the back of it for the antenna. Now, it's not the best. I mean, you know, it still gets the antenna sort of in the way of the props, but you can sort of direct it away a little bit more. VTX is struggling just a little bit there. We are at the other side of the house in here. And yeah, with this sort of added latency, it is more difficult to thread the needle to do sort of, you know, more performance style, you know, going through tiny gaps and stuff. But I tend to find that quite tricky anyways with the 75mm quadcopters compared to 65mm. So yeah, I don't think I'm going to be getting through these tiny gaps here through the chairs. But no problem with the crossfire and the control signal. Oh, it went down to 97. Yeah, but behaving pretty well. Let's see if I dare to go up the stairs. This is where it could get really tricky with the slight up angle and also the little bit of latency. And it's the furthest away from where I'm actually sitting as well. We've got lots of concrete between us. It is getting pretty sketchy, I have to say. It's getting very sketchy. Let's turn around. Okay, I need to chill out here a bit because this could be disastrous down here. Oh, basically blind. Oh, I'm lucky that I didn't hit the ground there. Yeah, it needs a little bit of accelerometer trim, I think. Feels like it is pulling backwards a little bit. Well, it's not too bad there though, but yeah, I've just got a little bit of back pitch held in just to keep it hovering. It's not drifting. Where's the voltage? 3.3, so yeah, the voltage is holding pretty nicely, but might find that at 3.3 it's just going to turn off, and that could be a problem for our HD footage. Hopefully it will save it if it browns out. Oh, there we go. What did I say? It browned out. Okay, that might not have saved the HD footage if it did that. Let's go and see. Okay, let's go for a line of sight flight with this guy. Fairly calm this morning, but it's going to get windier later on, so thought I'd take the opportunity to fly it when it's fairly calm because it's a tiny thing. See the antenna popping out of the top there. I've got it round that hook, but the props are still very close. I'd switch these props out, I think. I mean, they perform okay, but they're going to break, and they're going to break trying to take them off as well. You have to really grab your hand around them. It flies nice in angle mode out here. Let's try acro and also see how much power it's got for a 1S model carrying all that stuff. Not bad at all. I mean, it doesn't disappear, but pretty impressive for 1S. Always amazes me. Oh, back to the brushed days when we had no power at all. Able to do acro with it. Can we do a loop is the question. Ooh, sort of. Yeah, I think this one's going to be alright when it comes to, you know, flying in a calm day outside. Oh yeah. Man, that's fun, that's fun. Oh yeah. Not getting any prop wash at all with that, which is surprising really with this frame. But it's so light, of course, so maybe that's helping. Oh, I'm just having too much fun here. I mean, yeah, you get a lot for your money with this thing, and I have to say, a lot of smiles as well. Not perfect like a lot of Ishin models really, but yeah, I mean, you get a lot, don't you? 4K recorder, all those batteries, 1S, very quiet as well, 200 milliwatt VTX, and running crossfire. Yeah, pretty incredible. Any more wind than nothing really, and it's going to be struggling, I think. Alrighty, let's give this guy a go. Flying outside. It's a fairly calm day today, but it's due to get more windy, so I thought I would take the opportunity to fly when it was less windy. So it does seem like just what I suspected at the start of the video. You know, one of the reasons why we couldn't get 1S models doing a lot of stuff is that, you know, you get a brownout, and that's what happened, although it did happen towards the end of the flight. So just seeing what it's like out here. I'm getting a lot of flickering and breakup in my feed actually. That's probably going to manifest itself with the rapid fire as black and white. And I have noticed that the antenna for the VTX, just a little copper wire that comes out the front, and it's actually covered up quite a lot by the board on the top for the Loris. So that's not awesome really. And yeah, I can actually see it happening. So the VTX antenna is pointing out of the front and it's blocked by the quadcopter, and then when I turn around and face myself, you get less breakup. So that's not ideal, because I'm running at full power here and we've got the crossfire, but you know, when we get maybe 80 to 100 meters away, the breakup's pretty diabolical. Either that, or I'm just so used to the DJI system that this is normal. But now I'm getting lots of flickering, lots of color changing. You might not be seeing the same thing through the DVR, and then I just turn a certain way and it stops. I'll tell you what, it's got plenty of power on a calm day to do a little bit of acro. I imagine if I start giving it too much throttle, it's going to cut out, because we're already at 3.3 volts and that's a 2-minute flight time. And if I give it full throttle now, probably going to lose the video. So you need to sort of cruise with this one, otherwise you're just going to randomly lose your video. In fact, I really could do with bringing it in for a landing. Otherwise it's just going to fall out of the sky, and I don't want that, especially when the conditions are like this, all muddy. So let's give it another flight. So as you will have hopefully seen, it does actually save the footage when it does that brown out, so that's good. Oh, I've got some geese over the top there, not liking what I'm doing. So let's see what happens to the voltage here, and let's try and take it out a little bit further. If I can turn my head. Oh no, that reception is really bad. Flickering. Yeah, it's the colour that's actually going from it for me as well. So just wonder if it's that PAL NTSC discrepancy with the flicker. Okay, so yeah, it's sort of holding the voltage, but I mean, how much voltage can you hold when it's just a 1S voltage? Okay, let's try and push the range a little bit. That's 120 meters out there. Getting a lot of breakup, then turn around. Does it come back? Well, I'm getting a lot of color flicker. Yeah, I think the way to fix that is just make sure that the light frequency and the PAL and NTSC is all matching up with the camera and in Betaflight. Sky's looking nice and blue. Okay, let's try to do a bit of acro with it. Let's see if I can torment it a little bit. Not getting any yaw washout. That's pretty incredible, really. I suppose it is very light, but I expected it to be, still heavy for the type of aircraft that it is, being 1S and everything. I'll be flicking, of course, between the HD footage. Oh, we've got some yaw washout there. Yeah, there you go, as we're getting towards the end of the battery. Yeah, I'll be switching between the HD footage and the DVR footage, but probably going to show most of the HD footage, to be honest, because it's looking pretty diabolical through here. I mean, it's flyable, but so much breakup, and yeah, not a lot of fun. So you need a calm day with this guy outside. There you go, went up full throttle and we went to 3.3 volts straight away. That's where you want to land, so just a couple of minutes of flight time. If you give it the beans on the throttle outside, it's just lifted up there to 3.4, but you're damaging the battery at this point, so yeah, need to be careful, really. But there you go, that is my review of the Eachine CineFun. I'm quite impressed what they've managed to do with this. The tune's actually, it's not too bad either. I'm not sure you could improve it any more than, it is. Oh, is the sun coming out a little bit? See if we've got any jello on there. Oh, there we go. No, I've lost, the camera's cut out. So, yeah, as I try and go find the thing, I'll put a link in the video description if you wish to get one, as well as a pinned comment. And as always, thanks so much for watching. Please continue to subscribe. Cheers.